In this day of October 4th, will be disputed the decisive race for the America's Cup 1901. The races of 1901 were particularly disputed between Columbia, a drawing by Nat Herreshoff, already winner in 1899, and Shamrock II, the new Sir Thomas Lipton boat designed by George Lennox Watson. When the regatta committee's boat navigator arrived at the lightship, the wind was north-northwest and blowing at the rate of about 8 knots an hour. The sea was perfectly smooth, with an almost imperceptible swell from the southeast. The last of the flood tide was making, but it was not strong enough to tail the lightship against the wind. The navigator anchored west-southwest of the lightship and hoisted the course signals signifying that the course was south-southeast, 15 miles to leeward and return. The preparatory gun was fired at 10:45. At this time both yachts were cruising about under mainsails, club topsails, and jibs. When the warning gun was fired, both were to windward of the lightship, heading into the wind. Columbia was ahead and to the southward. The maneuvering for the start began with both working up to windward on the port tack. Columbia went on the starboard tack and then wore away, while Shamrock tilted away on the port tack and also wore around. 2 minutes before the starting signal, Columbia luffed up on the port tack, while Shamrock went on the port tack again and shot far up to windward. Columbia was now on the Shamrock's port beam. Shamrock tilted away on the starboard tack, Columbia imitating the move. Columbia was now ahead, with the Shamrock following her. Both were running along the line southward when the starting gun was fired. Columbia headed for the line with sheets flat. Shamrock, astern of her, squared away, lowered her spinnaker boom to starboard, and broke out her balloon jib-topsail. A few seconds later she broke out her spinnaker. Columbia delayed the same movements till she was on the line. A painting by Brian Mays and some photographs of the Detroit Publishing Company illustrate these important moments before and after the start. These photographs are available in very high definition at the Library of Congress. As she crossed, she ran ahead. Both yachts, however, were behind the handicap gun. Columbia by 40 seconds and Shamrock by 10 more. Both, therefore, were timed at starting at 11:02. Columbia held the westerly berth, and maintained her position in the lead. The speed of the yachts at this time was not great, but it increased as they neared the outer mark, 15 miles off Asbury Park. At 11:20 Shamrock's greater sail area had done its work in the growing breeze, and she passed Columbia to the eastward. At 11:50 Shamrock had a lead of about 300 yards. The yachts were now 8 miles from the lightship, and Shamrock was slowly increasing her lead. Barr was working Columbia out on Shamrock weather quarter with the intent of breaking the Challenger's wind, especially if the breeze went any more to the westward. At 12:03 Columbia took a fine puff of wind and gained materially on the leader. While Columbia was making this advance, Shamrock's kites were hanging all slack. She seemed to have run into a soft spot, and was rapidly losing her lead. Shamrock had handsomely taken into her spinnaker, and, with her beating canvas drawing well, stood for the mark. She had a lead of about 200 yards as she rounded, at 12 hours 48 minutes and 46 seconds. Columbia followed at 12 hours 49 minutes and 35 seconds. Shamrock luffed around the mark and hauled up on the starboard tack. Columbia luffed sharp up, went about, and took the port tack at once. This was done to get her wind clear. As soon as Columbia had stood far enough out to get the weather berth, she went on a starboard tack at 12 hours 52 minutes and 15 seconds. The two yachts were now heading west by south toward the New Jersey shore. The wind had freshened so that instead of breaking out the jib topsail which she had sent up before rounding, Shamrock lowered it again. The Challenger seemed now to be going faster than Columbia. At 1:07 she crossed Columbia's bows well ahead. At 1:08 Shamrock took the starboard tack when she was away down on Columbia's quarter, and had literally thrown away an advantage, a vital moment, to herself. At 1 hour 13 minutes and 5 seconds Columbia went on the port tack. She was now away to windward, and though astern she had the better position of the two yachts, she was footing very fast. The wind began to lighten and Columbia broke out her jib topsail first at 1 hour 15 minutes and 45 seconds. Shamrock's was spread at 1 hour 16 minutes and 35 seconds. The Challenger was going admirably now, and then Captain Barr thought it was time to be up and doing. So he threw Columbia to the starboard tack at 2 hours 3 minutes and 30 seconds. Shamrock held on just a minute and then followed suit. Captain Barr goes on the port tack at 2 hours 15 minutes and 30 seconds. It was evident that Barr's aim was to rush across Shamrock's bow and tack on her weather. But Shamrock got the benefit of a slant and headed higher, so that Columbia tail under her lee, and at 2 hours 16 minutes and 30 seconds the Challenger crossed the defender's bows. This time Captain Sycamore lost not a trick of the game, but at once tacked at 2 hours 16 minutes and 50 seconds on Columbia's weather bow. This was wholly unsuitable to Captain Barr, and at 2 hours 17 minutes and 15 seconds he promptly threw Columbia to the starboard tack. Captain Barr put Shamrock on the port tack at 2 hours 21 minutes and 30 seconds. She was now a quarter of a mile to windward and half a mile astern. The lightship was in sight and a little figuring showed that Shamrock was somewhat nearer to it than Columbia. If the wind had backed more to the westward, the Challenger would have been able to point right toward the finish. At 2 hours 47 minutes and 30 seconds, Columbia went on the port tack to windward of Shamrock's course. At 2 hours 53 minutes and 10 seconds, she returned to the starboard tack, Barr evidently deeming it bad policy to stand too far out to sea. Shamrock followed suit 15 seconds later. At 2 hours 56 minutes and 50 seconds Columbia went on the port tack and Shamrock followed 5 seconds later. At 3 hours 16 minutes and 25 seconds, Shamrock went on the starboard tack, and at 3 hours 20 minutes and 15 seconds Columbia went on the starboard tack. Shamrock went on the port tack first at 3 hours 20 minutes and 40 seconds. Columbia followed at 3 hours 21 minutes and 30 seconds. The lightship was close aboard of the races, and the finish was only a matter of 3 or 4 minutes. Columbia was on the port tack and Shamrock on the starboard. At 3:30 exactly Columbia was seen to luff. Her headsails shook and she had to go about. Now both were on the starboard tack, Columbia under Shamrock's lee, and both arriving to pinch so as to make the line, which was at an acute angle with their course. It was only a moment before Captain Barr saw that Columbia would not weather the committee boat, lying on the leeward end of the line, and so he ramped to his yacht off to give her speed. She rushed out from under Shamrock's lee, and the minute she was clear Barr threw her to the port tack, at 3:35, and with the way of this on he carried her across the line. Shamrock was still rushing at the line, but Captain Sycamore saw that she would go all the way along its front and hit the committee boat, so he also threw his yacht to the port tack. but she was in such a position that as she came about she headed directly at the lightship, and so he gave her a pilot's luff, or half-board, as it is called, sending her across the line with her sails shaking and her head up in the wind. The finish was the closest ever seen, and the enthusiasm of the fleet over the victory was most intense. On the run to leeward, Columbia occupied 1 hour 47 minutes and 35 seconds, and Shamrock 1 hour 46 minutes and 46 seconds. Shamrock's gain 49 seconds. On the beat to windward, Columbia occupied 2 hours 46 minutes and 5 seconds, and Shamrock 2 hours 46 minutes and 52 seconds. Columbia's gain 47 seconds. On elapsed time, Shamrock beat Columbia 2 seconds over the course, but Columbia won by 41 seconds by reason of her time allowance of 43 seconds. Some beautiful photographs of the finish.